So yeah, if you want to get into it, we can go right now if you want.
Fucking rip it up. Let's party.
Let's do it, man. All right, give us a little brief bit of where you was born, where you was raised, and what you was into as a kid.
1974, Miami, Florida. I was born to Carol and Steve Crandall, and then we moved around a little bit because my dad was in the military. Spent like my early BMX years on Long Island and New York City area, and then when I got full on into BMX, I had moved to Ithaca, and when I was 12 years old, that's when I met Mike Tag and Gilly and this dude Hambone. And
okay.
Ithaca, New York is kind of where like the BMX dream got started for me. But
all right.
Earlier than that, I was still like riding BMX bikes around. It was just like less official style.
All right, not actually delving into the activity, but just riding about on one, yeah.
No, I was like jumping and stuff, but I didn't know really what BMX. I didn't know what BMX was hardly, you know.
All right. What year did you move to Ithaca?
Probably like 86-ish.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. So I think like I was in like 7th grade or something, and then that's when I met Tag. We had like classes. We had classes together in 7th grade.
Nice. Was Tag and Gilly both originally from Ithaca?
Yeah, Gilly went to a different school, like on the other side of town, and me and Tag were like the only 2 BMXers in our school.
Okay, and that was so 86. I don't know what it was like on the east coast of the US, but in 86 over here, it was pretty much on the decline.
I think like there was like freestyle dudes that hung out and we saw around town, and then like there was a couple older dudes that raced and like just rode BMX, but like we were so isolated that I don't think we would have known the difference if it was on the decline or not. We were just like,
you were just taking it in.
Yeah, we were just like it was all cool to us at that point.
Yeah. Was there a track near you or like anywhere to ride?
Yeah, so my first race was in 86 and I was in town. There was a bike shop called Pedal Away, and there was a bike, and those dudes ran a track called Pedal Sport. And it was like on the other side of town, like probably like a half hour from my house. But that closed the same year. So I did like my first season, and then the track closed down. And then
no way.
And then the next closest track was in Binghamton, which is an hour away. And then me, Tag, and Gilly and Hamden and like, you know, our crew started. Our parents would take turns driving us over like every Friday. They'd make the hour drive. We'd all pile into one of the parents' cars.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah, so.
But where did you see your first BMX?
When I was living like on Long Island, my dad got me a BMX bike from this place called like East Meadow Mower and Bike Shop, and it was a gold and black Randor with like V bars and front and back brakes and a freewheel, and that was my first like brand new bike. That was a BMX. It was like entry level, you know, but that's when I started like checking out BMX Plus at the 7-Eleven and Super BMX and stuff.
So you're checking out mags as well. So you're getting into it when you're in Long Island, like fairly deep.
So that was probably like 83 or 84. I was getting into it.
Okay.
But I was just like a little kid, you know. There wasn't like BMXers like that I knew or anything like that.
All right. And what when you moved to Ithaca, where was the like? Was there a core shop, so to speak?
Yeah, it was downtown. It was called Pedal Away. It was the same dudes that did the BMX track. And they had a freestyle team. And you ever hear that dude Guav? He's like a hardcore dude. He was on the freestyle team. There was like 5 dudes, and they all went to the same school as Gilly. And that dude Guav put out that album Voice of the Voiceless. Do you remember that?
No.
It was like an old like early animal rights hardcore album in like 92.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like an animal rights kind of gig. Yeah.
So those dudes were on the freestyle team, and that's where we like would like they had like a little bit of BMX stuff. It was like a small little shop.
Okay.
And, but they all kind of like got out of BMX as we were getting into it, you know, like they were a couple years older than us.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that shop went out of business like soon after that too. So we pretty much just like had hand-me-down parts and like traded parts with each other, and dudes that had like gotten out of BMX, we'd go find their old stuff and like get it from them.
Yeah.
So there wasn't like a scene where we'd be like at a BMX shop getting new stuff or like checking out stuff in real life. It was like all hand-me-down parts and secondhand stuff and, swap meet style.
Yeah. And what was the, like, when you said the track closed, did they just plow it or?
Yeah, I think it might have sat there for a while, but it was like we didn't have any way to get out there.
Okay, so far, yeah.
So we just started riding our bikes around town. So we were like street riding.
Oh, yeah.
But mostly just jumping off of anything that looked like a jump.
Was there a skate scene in Ithaca as well?
Yeah, so like after school, like we'd all meet at this place called DeWitt Park, and it would be like Gilly and the dudes that went to his school, and like me and Tag, and then like all the skaters and punks and everything would hang out in this park in downtown. So I'd be like after school style, like you'd start like getting exposed to all the different subcultures, skateboarding, and punk music, and like weirdos and heshers and all that kind of stuff. Like everyone was just like teenagers hanging out in the park smoking cigarettes.
All right, so that all connected early. You were like 13 or 14, right? And you're finding out all this stuff.
Yeah, like I think before we even had BMX or skate videos, there was a dude named Toast that we'd met that was older than us.
Yeah, I remember him, yeah.
He had roadied for The Accused and like was in a band called Milk Toast, and there were shows in Ithaca, like community centers called Ithaca. And I remember being like 13 or 14, like starting to go to shows and like seeing my first Circle Pit and Wall of Death and stuff like that, and being like,
whoa. What was the band? Was his band?
His band was called Milk Toast.
But what was that was the first band you saw?
Like whatever local punk bands were playing.
Okay.
But yeah, they were like a punk, like thrash style band.
Okay.
Yeah, but like there was like all different kinds of weird bands that were like local bands that were like just terrible but awesome at the same time.
Yeah.
So
nice. And what was it like? Who are you looking at? Like, what riding are you looking at through the mags to keep riding? Because it sounds like it's already receded to the point where you're using like hand-me-down parts and like just recycling stuff.
I don't remember what year. Like I get mixed up with the years, but like there was like Kelly and Kim Baker and Toast. They were all like the same age, and they were like the local like rippers.
Yeah.
And so they were like kind of who we looked up to. And then like Go Magazine, like whoever was in Go Magazine, we were like hyped on.
Yeah, okay.
Like, so like when BMX Action turned, we were always like more exposed to the race side of things. So we'd be like, the S&M dudes like Dave Clymer and stuff like that. But like, I think there was like a gap from like when we started to like when S&M became popular.
Yeah.
So I think we were just kind of like, I think we were just on autopilot, just like probably watching the local skateboarders and like trying to find ramps and whatever to ride.
And there's still just a 3-man crew, you, Gilly, and Tag.
And this dude Hambone, that was part of the crew too. There was like 4 of us. And then there was a couple dudes that were like kind of into it, but like, they was kind of like hanging out and riding around.
Yeah.
But
did you guys ever see 101 freestyle tricks?
No, we never saw any of that
no
stuff.
Way.
But there was a TV show on ESPN called Action Cycle Sports Series. And we would like record it on VHS, and then it would have like a race out in California and then like one of those Stonehenge contests, and we would just watch it on repeat.
All right.
And then like probably all around the same time with like Go Magazine, like Head First came out. Like maybe a little bit after that, like so we got Head First. Right. We got like a copy of Head First, and then we got the second video we ever got was the East Coast Destruction Butt Brothers video.
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember, yeah.
So like pretty much right off the bat, we were exposed to a bunch of lunatics, Yeah,
you're under the covers with that one pretty hard. So that was the first video you saw was the Butt Brothers? Or
I think that was like the first handful of them. It wasn't the first, but it was like that was all like in the early 90s, like.
Did you ever get tours come from Ithaca, like freestyle tours?
Not even close.
Oh, no, really?
I remember in '86, I bought for $20. I bought a ticket for Mike Miranda was going to come to a clinic at the track. He was on CW Racing at the time, and then like I bought the ticket like 4 months in advance, and by the time it was all about to happen, like the track was shut down, and like I got gypped out of my $20, and I never got to meet Mike Miranda until like 30 years later.
Oh man.
And I asked him for my
Stiffed.
$20 back. He didn't know who.
Oh, excellent. And where does it like develop from there? Because it sounds like pretty. Well, it sounds like what was going on here, pretty much identical. So like, you're in the early '90s, and things are like, I don't know if you'd even know because you're not. If you're still getting the mags and you're not seeing videos and stuff, like things were really grimy BMX wise then. Like if you looked at like Ride On, Head First, like the standard
have
video.
those videos. So like those videos were definitely like part of the playlist at that point. By the time they come out, we were hip to all that stuff.
All right.
But like before the videos, it was pretty much just like our own interpretation of what we saw in the magazines, you know?
Yeah.
And just like maybe meet somebody randomly here and there.
Just a random guy riding past on a BMX or something.
Like back then, it was like, you know, there were so few people. Like if you had a BMX and like somehow you'd meet each other, you know?
Yeah. And what was Ithaca like back in those days? Because Ithaca's quite a small town, right?
Yeah, it was like, I mean, we were always pretty isolated. Like there was a cool music scene, like for whatever reason, because there was like a big college there. But like we would drive down to Binghamton and meet some of the locals of that BMX track. And then like around that same time was like the first set of trails we ever went to. It was a place called the Pines in Rochester, New York. And so like we would just go and like take like day trips to some of these places, probably when we were like 16, and just kind of like bring all that back to Ithaca with us and start building our own jumps and like, you know, just finding spots to kind of ride. And
yeah,
you know, we were always kind of on the hunt for spots, you know, but like it wasn't like nowadays where, you know, you knew what a spot was. It was like anything that could have been a spot, it was a spot.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. And when do you break out of your local areas, like to actually what was your first freestyle event you went to?
I would say like when we turned 16, we all got our licenses and like me and Tag had a car, so we would like start going, like there'd be like regional races, like nationals at the Binghamton track, and they'd have like dirt jumping contests sometimes.
Okay.
So like some of the first events were like going to nationals that had dirt jumping contests. Like we went to South Park race in Pittsburgh and started meeting some of those. Like we met the push guys early on, like in like 92 or 93. So we've known like a lot of the same people like the whole time we've been around. But then the first freestyle event we went to was 1993 in Shimersville, the BS contest. It was indoors.
Okay.
And I recently found footage of it. Like we had like a VHS camera and we were just in the crowd videotaping like Dave Clymer, Joe Rich, Mel Cody. I think Jeff Cron has a clip in there. Like
that was a really good contest, wasn't it? Or from the footage I've seen, anyway.
It was, for us, it was life changing. Like we'd never seen anybody like that in real life, you know. Like, and we were just like, holy shit!
Yeah.
Like in the magazines, you know, everything seems so far away, but then you get to see it in real life. You're like, holy fuck!
Yeah.
Like
that's the one with Miron doing the nose pick on the back rail as well.
I think it was the same event. Yeah, like Lucky does a half bar spin transfer into the vert ramp.
Yeah, that's it.
I think Miron was trying to flip like the coping to coping 6 foot tall spine. It was like early on when people first started doing flips and stuff too. It was like, we were just like mind blown.
Yeah. No, I remember that because at that point as well, it was the BS contest, and then like one contest would almost change everything again. Like it would just rotate it around.
Everyone would just start throwing out their wildest shit like at the end of the day, and then if they stuck it, then history was made. You know?
Totally.
That was it.
Yeah. Oh, and did you meet the Bethlehem guys at that contest?
Well, that's when we first started meeting them. Like after that contest, we went to the first Posh and started meeting. We met like Mach 6 and I'm trying to remember who all we met. We met like Marky Hall and Rob Kaufman and Butcher. I think Butcher was riding at that contest too. And then we went to that Reading skate park the same trip.
Yeah, okay.
So like that first trip, like to Pennsylvania was Shimersville contest, the first Posh. And, there was probably like an impromptu jam at Posh that day, which was like, I think maybe Griffin was there, like Brian Stimmel, like all these, like, they were the same age as us, but they all looked like grown ass men. Like,
Yeah.
we were like, dude, these guys are like 30. They're like smoking cigarettes and like, they look like they just changed a transmission in their dad's car or something. They were just like gnarly dudes and they're ripping. And we're just like, we didn't understand how like there was like the roller set. It was like a roller and then a set of doubles. And like, we didn't understand how it worked.
Yeah,
like,
same. Yeah.
We didn't know that you could roll over something and pump it and jump the next one. So we would like try to ride it and then just bike rack the next landing, like jump the roller to flat and then try to jump the next one. And
that's it. I've been there, man. It's identical. Yeah, no way.
But yeah, that trip was like the big eye opener. Like we met all these people. Like we met some of the pros that we'd seen in the magazines, and like that was like it was just kind of nuts. It's like meeting movie stars.
Yeah.
And when you're a teenager, that's heavy.
Yeah. That's good. That's a good one to start with. That's quite late though, isn't it? 93, like to your first
that was
one.
Like that was the first freestyle contest we went to. We'd been to like small race events, like 2B used to do events at the races.
Oh, of course. So it's almost similar.
91, 92, we started seeing some of like local pros and stuff like that.
Who was the dirt jump guys on the dirt jump scene in the 2B things?
There was there was a dude named Chad Stemler that lived up in Rochester and rode the Pines. There was Vaughn Stout.
Vaughn Stout, yeah.
Tag and Gilly entered a couple of those things. And then just local dudes, like, I don't even remember that many other people. Like, Hal Brindley and Steve Bundeck would be there. And then, like, there'd be some random dude that, was rad that probably stopped riding in 92 and, probably works at CarMax now or some shit, who knows?
Yeah, man. Oh, no way. And so, is this when you get the idea for FBM? Is going to that Shimersville contest, or is it starting before?
Right. I think when we started going to those 2B contests, it kind of like planted the seed, and then they had an ad in Go magazine. It was like this big, and it said like Rochester, New York. Like I don't even think we knew like where they were from, but the ad said Rochester, New York. So like it kind of like clued me into the idea that you didn't have to be in California.
Yeah.
You could do stuff like, and then, listening to punk albums and stuff at the time where they're like, hey, start a band,
Yeah.
And it kind of was all coming together at the same time. So by the time we went to Shimersville, I had started FBM, like screen printing t-shirts in my parents' basement, but it was like very early on, like rudimentary style.
Yeah. And was that all I would assume you drew all them graphics yourself?
So the first two graphics were the I Love My Bicycle shirt. That's like, that real shitty drawing that we've had forever.
Yeah.
And then there was the Fat Bald Men shirt, which is like a fat guy just kind of like
sideways. Yeah.
And this dude, Justin Short, drew that.
Okay.
He was like one of the first dudes we met also. He was from Pittsburgh, but his mom lived kind of close to us. So
all right.
That we met him, and I ended up trading him a pair of turquoise Peregrine mags.
I thought he was the mag guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I traded a bunch of art supplies for those mags, and he ended up on the cover of Dig magazine with those mags.
That's right. Yeah.
Hallman shot those photos, like early push photo. So like everything was kind of all connected all around the same time. Like back then, it probably seemed like it took like 5 years, but it was probably over the course of like 18 months or something. Like all this stuff started happening.
Yeah, man. Time moved slow back then, that's for sure.
But Justin was the first one that took us to Pittsburgh to the South Park National. And that's when we met like Jason Stig and all the Push locals. And like before Push was even a thing, there was just like a tabletop in the field, like where Push would end up being.
Yeah.
And we would ride it with those guys and met Stu Johnson in Pittsburgh at Jason Stig's parents' house. Like they lived real close to where the National was. And like all of us dirty kids were like sleeping in the basement. And, Stu was friends with those guys too separately. And we all just kind of met at the same time, same place.
Yeah, coming together of tribes almost. That would have been back then, wouldn't it? Like,
tribal meeting at the it was pretty cool.
That's nice, man. And what else was Props? Props was going right at that point, right?
I think Props. So like, we graduated high school in '92, and like end of that summer is about when FBM started like becoming a thing. And
Okay.
then like a year later, we moved to Indiana. And that's like, we moved out there to hang out with Stu and ride the trails and stuff out there. And around 93, maybe mid 93, early 94 is when prop started, I think. And the closest skate park to where we were in Fort Wayne was Scrap in Chicago. And that was like 3 hours away. And so we would go up there all the time, and we'd met those dudes that way. And like FBM was just kind of getting off the ground the same time as props. So like we kind of like grew up together, even though like we were in different cities.
Yeah.
But we would drive like 3 hours one way, ride for like 3 hours, and then drive home like that night.
So you went to the scrap contest then, I guess, at that point.
Yeah.
Because they were some groundbreakers as well, right?
Buck wild, man.
Yeah.
Todd Lyons in a fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle costume, like jumping up onto the vert ramp deck and doing flips and stuff. Like it was, I mean, the Shimersville one was like open the eyes, and then the scrap one was like head explodes.
Yeah.
It was like everybody was there, like all the pros that you can imagine.
They were the finals usually, weren't they, for a couple of years at scrap?
I guess it was. Yeah, I don't even remember what it was. I just remember it being like mind blowing.
Okay.
Just the craziest shit.
And is that when was the first time you met an English bike rider, BMX guy? Scrap.
I probably met some English dudes at Scrap, and then in that time frame, I forget exactly the years, but like Nick and Andy, I think, were with Moeller on a trip one time in Fort Wayne. I met them, and like I ended up like hanging out with them a little bit. We also had that Unlock Your BMX video like in late 93.
Oh, no way. Okay.
So like we were like tuned in to what was going on like through that video. But I feel like the Lord brothers were the first ones we met, you know, Nick and Andy.
Oh, cool, man.
I'm not 100% on that. We might have met someone else. But, you know, there was a dude named Woody from Hastings that came over.
Oh, yeah.
He rode some god-awful Zima frame, and he stayed with us for a summer, like early on. Yeah, that must have been like the first handful of people from England we met.
And what, you came to Ithaca to stay?
No, this is like by the time we got to Fort Wayne.
Okay, yeah. Wow, you went to Fort Wayne. Wow.
Yeah, he stayed with us for a while, if I remember correctly.
That's weird, yeah, that he stayed there.
But like that was hopping at that point. It was like the Fat House was a thing. We had
that was established. Okay.
Yeah,
I remember the videos of it. Can't remember what I was going to ask you. Had you seen UK mags at that point as well?
I think we'd started getting Dig magazines like.
Okay.
Whenever those started coming
early,
around,
like 93 they came, the first one came out,
around like I remember we had the one with was the first one with like maybe it was Ian doing a nose pick on the cover.
That's it, yeah, with a fisheye,
Yeah, we had that one, I think. Like we had like a living room that just had videos and magazines in it, and that's where we would hang out, and like we would all just be like looking at them all the time. Like like, they were like the Bible, like all the magazines, you know, like the videos.
And so at Fort Wayne, you end up building Fort Wayne, right? The trails.
Yeah, so like we got there and like the trails existed, but they were pretty like basic. And then, you know, we got a house together. It was like me, Tag, Gilly, this dude, Crazy Joe, Jody Donnelly.
Joe DeGurda.
Yeah, Joe DeGurda. And Jody Donnelly, Stu Johnson moved in. Eventually, like a bunch of people moved in, like Colin Winkleman and like a handful of other people. It was like that dude Wilbur. And so like Gilly and Tag were like real, like they were like the original like dig crew. Like everyone dug, but those guys were like ambitious. And then we built a ramp in the backyard, and then like it kind of started becoming a scene. And then Stu started throwing this event series called the Kill Yourself Jams. And like he'd have one at Push in Pittsburgh and then have one in Fort Wayne. And then like dudes from Bethlehem would come out, like dudes from Pennsylvania, Ohio, like Chicago, like all these different scenes would, you know, come to these jams because like nobody did jams back then hardly, you know.
Yeah, especially on the East.
Yeah, and like, you know, independent style, not like going to like a big event.
Yeah.
So like these like kind of underground events became like a big deal. Like a lot of people would show up and like there'd be tons of people, and you'd meet everybody that way, like people from like Cincinnati or Columbus or Dayton or, you know, Pittsburgh, like all the Cleveland, all these people would show up, and you'd just be like, I guess we're friends now. We're BMXers, you know, and like some of these people that we met in like the early '90s, you know, I still ride with to this day. You know, it's pretty amazing.
No way.
It's like, you know, the dudes that stuck with it, like, you know, end up becoming lifelong friends with these dudes you met through BMX 35 years ago, which is like outrageous, really. You know, half of them turned into,
was there a scene in Fort Wayne before you guys got there? Was it just 2 people or something?
There was a scene, and I think it was like, it's kind of like hodgepodge. Like there was a couple racers like Scott Yocolette and Barry McManus.
All right.
And then the Streebies lived like an hour away.
Okay.
And then there was a couple dudes, but it was mostly like Stu was like the main dude, and then, you know, Jody was like the local pro.
Okay.
You know, but like kind of we brought the scene with us. You know, I don't want to sound like it was us, but like we brought the party.
It got pretty like one of the infamous towns for BMX back in the sort of mid-90s, didn't it? Like it was all over the mags and videos.
It was an early BMX house, you know, like, and then, you know, more and more people started moving in with us too, like Chris Holman, like just all these like really talented people and like great bike riders all like living in the same place. So like the scene kind of, we showed up, and then the scene kind of just was born out of that, you know, like so it was like, you know, Stu was doing Scum, you know, Tag was becoming like a, you know, a higher level rider. You know, I was doing more and more FBM stuff. Gilly was digging a bunch of the trails. Like, so it was all like kind of, it was like a cool little like catalyst. Like everyone was like, oh, we can all do cool shit. Let's do cool shit. And when you're doing cool shit together, it kind of adds up more, you know, than if you're just like one person trying to do stuff.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So it's a bit of a beehive of like activity, you know? Like,
and like, it's kind of like we all gave each other permission to do cool shit. You know, it was like everybody was like encouraging one another, you know, it was like, and that really set it off.
Oh, cool, man. And when do you start filming the first FBM video? That's quite early, is it?
Like around the time we got to Fort Wayne. So there was a public library not too far from the house, and you could go there and you could sign out a VHS camera.
Okay.
And you'd have to bring it back the next day, but we would go on Friday and sign it out, and then they'd be closed all weekend. So we'd have it all weekend, and we'd just film at the trails, you know, like.
Yeah.
And we filmed, and then we made the first ever FBM video. We made VHS to VHS in the basement of the Fat House, and it was called One Footed Dead Sailor.
Oh, okay. I don't think I've seen it.
It was probably like the shittiest quality video you could imagine, but like for the time, it was like pretty fun, you know.
Yeah. Have you still got that?
Yeah, I've got a copy of it somewhere.
Have you digitalized it or?
Yeah, I mean loosely. It was it was a bonus section on the first Anthem video, and it even says like disclaimer, this is like the shittiest quality.
So that didn't come with a cover or anything. And what
I think we made like 12 of them with a cover with like a Xerox paper sticker.
Okay. Oh, so
like,
kind of not bad then, really.
Like kind of like a video version of a zine, you know, like Xerox cut and paste. It was like real poor quality, but it was pretty authentic for like what was going on at the time.
Yeah.
And
how much like FBM like graphics are you doing now as well?
Like pretty much the whole time that FBM was around, like I was the main art guy.
But how many logo like t-shirt like designs have you got going on at this point in this video?
maybe like 4 or 5.
Okay.
But like, you know, like we would like, there was never like a solid like lineup at that time. It'd be like, I would have an idea and I would make a screen and then make a few shirts and then reclaim the screen and like burn a new design. So it'd be like, it was never like having a catalog of stuff, you know, it was just like, we probably had like 3 or 4 screens. So I'd have maybe like 2 shirts at a time, but I'd probably done like maybe 5 or 6 designs at the time, maybe.
Yeah.
Kind of guessing.
Right. And when was it, like, when do you branch out of Fort Wayne to like sell FBM t-shirts? Like, where was that first trip that you went out and like sold stuff to outside of that scene? Do you remember?
pretty much I mean, I don't remember the first, but like pretty much the protocol was like I would borrow like say t-shirt blanks for like $3 or $4. I would borrow like $40 from Tag and get like 10 shirts, and I would print 10 shirts and I'd sell 4 of them and have to pay him back the $40.
All right.
And like him and Gilly. And then I would do that a few times and then bring like a army duffel bag with like 10 or 20 shirts to like a race or, you know, a freestyle contest, and just kind of like start talking shit to people and be like, hey, you want to buy a shirt? Yeah, I'd just be like I was real like insecure and nervous, but I would pretend I wasn't and just talk shit to people. and then so yeah, like the early 90s, like that's kind of how we would get going. You know, I would borrow money from Gilly and Tag to buy enough shirts to, you know, have a stash, and then, you know, we would sell a handful of them. We would never sell out of them because no one knew who we were at the time.
Yeah.
But we'd meet like, you know, the random local jams that we'd meet people at, like you'd see them again at like a bigger contest and you'd be like, oh, what's up? You know, dude from so-and-so. And be like, yo, buy a shirt. We got to get gas money to get back, you know, like, and pretty much whatever we spent on the trip was the rest of the money I made off the shirts. So I would have to borrow money from Tag again for the next round, or hit up Gilly and be like, and sometimes I just wouldn't have the money to pay him back for a while, and Tag would get like, you know, pretty tight with me. He'd be like,
but what was those guys doing to get money?
I mean, we would work like temp jobs, you know, sometimes, but none of us tried to work.
Oh, okay.
You know, like, we would work for like a month and then take, you know, a few months off. Like, but like minimum wage was $4.25 an hour back then. And I remember one winter time, I guess this was early 94, wintertime 94. Like Stu had a job at a screen printing factory called Classic Screen Printing. And me and Gilly got a job working with him, and it was the midnight shift from midnight till 7 in the morning. And we got $4.50 an hour. It was like 25 cents more an hour if you worked the midnight shift. And we would work till 7 in the morning and then go home and sleep. And then it would be dark by the time we woke up. And then we did that for a while, which was like, you know, wintertime, you can't ride anyway. So we would like work shitty jobs.
Gloomy, yeah.
But like Stu I don't know how to say stole, but Stu acquired like a bunch of T-shirts that were supposed to be printed for Spin Doctors tour T-shirts.
I remember he told us this, yeah.
Yeah, and like I got like a bunch of shirts off of him, so it was like that kind of like helped launchpad things into like having a little bit more money to like order more stuff and do more shit.
Oh, no way. I remember you guys. Did you have an ad in? Was it US Ride or US Ride or Plus or something?
We had a couple ads in like the early issues of Ride. Yeah, like little like, business card style ones.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then we'd be like, you know, send us $10 for a T-shirt, and no one would send us $10. You know.
Oh, really?
But I mean, maybe a couple people did. But we ended up becoming pen pals with people that way. With people that did zines. Like I was pen pals with Big Island way back then when I was like 17 years old. You know, like because he had an ad in the magazine too.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, so, you know, but yeah, like. The ads didn't really sell anything for us, but people would recognize the name after a while. And after going to so many events and like, you know, at a certain point, we'd been to enough events, so we'd met so many people, we'd kind of established ourselves as people that were like part of the scene.
Yeah.
We went from being like just, you know, no-name kids to like, oh, there's those dudes from the Fat House, you know, like those FDM guys. And like, you know, all that started kind of percolating at the same time.
Okay, so that helps loads, doesn't it?
Yeah, like once people started like getting familiar with us, and then like Tag started. So the following year, there was another Shimersville contest, but I think Play put it on this time, and Tag went out to that one. We didn't go out to it, but Tag did, and he got 3rd place in pro box jump, and I think it was Jay Muron, Dennis McCoy, and Tag, and no one knew who he was, but like they were like, oh, that's one of those FBM dudes, you know, and then like Tag started getting like noticed, and like all that kind of was like happening at the same time, you know.
Oh, nice. Was that the box jump outside?
Yeah, it was like a shitty box jump. Yeah. He just did tricks that people weren't doing back then too often, you know, like the nothing cannonball and like no footed seat grab bar spin, and like somehow he pulled it all. Like he probably didn't ride all winter and just went there and did it.
Oh,
And
no
then,
way.
like, they didn't know who he was. You know, he had like a baseball hat underneath a Pro Tech helmet that was like probably belonged to somebody else.
I remember the pics. I think it might have been in Tread, maybe one of the who covered it. Yeah, it was good. And then like as this is rolling on, and like you're getting more well known, Tag's getting more well known. Like I guess that's working for everyone. Like, and then FBM starts like it's growing, isn't it? Like with the BMX scene as well, because BMX is kind of going outwards.
Yeah, I think like
so is the
in the early '90s, like, you know, because of all these jams that people were throwing, you know, like people started meeting each other and connecting and networking, and then, you know, the BMX scene at large just kind of started growing, which means, you know, more people are riding and like the industry's getting bigger. So like, you know, for us it was like, okay, we'll have a few more shirts and we'll make a video, and then we'll get some hats made, and like, you know, one by one we just started like adding new ideas to the whole thing, you know, like, and then probably let's say like in the 94, I think things started to like bud, you know, like things started happening, you know, like Dan's Comp might have picked up a couple shirts back then.
And what do you remember what the popular shirts were in the early days, like when they started moving outwards?
The I Love My Bicycle shirt and the Fat Guy shirts
always
were like,
okay.
Yeah, they were like, people like just kind of identified with those. And then you know, Stu was starting to do the Scum stuff, and that was like real popular at the time. Like he made the shirt that was like the Subway logo that said Scum Boy on it.
Yeah.
And then I would just make random shirts with fucked up shit on it, and then like make like a handful of them and just kind of have them around, you know, not like production style.
Yeah.
But just like random weird art stuff. But yeah,
I remember, I think the first one I remember seeing was it a green and brown logo with like it was green and brown stripes behind the writing, maybe.
It said the most professional team in BMX. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
Oval logo with like green and brown.
That's it. Yeah. I remember that one as being the first. Did you ever get a distributor for just distroing the t-shirts, or do you just do it yourself?
I don't think anyone distroed the t-shirts. I think Sandbox did like maybe the Ring of Fire video.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure on that, but I feel like they did. But there wasn't really like a market for FBM stuff then, you know? It was like Dan's Comp would have a couple of the shirts, and then it was just whoever I would meet in real life, you know?
Yeah.
It was like we were so like underground, and like it didn't really make sense to anybody who we were or what we were doing. Because like most of the other stuff was based on like, you know, like a pro personality or something, you know, like a professional rider or, you know, an established brand. And we were just we were just teenagers, you know, like they were like, who are these guys?
And is Ring of Fire pre-Bar is closed?
Yeah, so we did One Footed Dead Sailor, probably made like 12 copies. And then we made Ring of Fire, we filmed that maybe 93, 94. Like our first trip. So that we did that, you know, we worked that winter at the screen printing factory, and then took our first trip to California, and like we're videotaping and stuff then. And then by the time we had enough footage, we went up to Props, and like they let us use their editing equipment, and we made Ring of Fire. Cool. So that was the first like production video where we like had a master tape and sent it out to get duplicated. And like that, I think that maybe came out early 95.
All right.
And that was kind of like, okay, our foot's in the door, but like, hey, here we are. Like, it's a real thing now, you know?
Yeah.
Like the video kind of like set the stage. Like, oh, okay, it's not just some kids at the park, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of effort being put into making a video, isn't there? So
yeah.
And how did that sell? Did that sell well?
I feel like back then there were so few videos that we sold a lot of them.
Okay, cool.
Like definitely several hundred immediately, and probably like over 1,000.
Oh, really? That's cool.
And that was like that means going from like 10 or 20 shirts to like hundreds of videos in short time was like a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like,
oh, no way.
And then like once all that starts happening, like everything kind of becomes a little bit more credible, like in the eyes of the audience, like they're like, oh, cool. Like I'll get a hat, or like we'll pick up some shirts, or, maybe another bike shop will pick up a few things and stuff like that. So like
slow growth.
Yeah. Like everything kind of compounded and became more and more legitimate, like even though we were still like absolute screwballs, like people were like recognizing us and like familiar with like what FBM was and who we are.
Yeah, but the BMX scene was screwballs really at that point. Anyway, like,
there were just some people that were good at disguising it.
Yeah, for sure. What was the music choice on Ring of Fire?
There was a Fat Records sampler that came out.
All right.
So it was a bunch of that stuff.
Okay.
Like that band Tilt was in there.
I quite like that.
Guns and Wankers. I don't remember all the other stuff.
Okay.
I think like Bar Is Closed is when we started using a little bit more like heavy music.
Yeah.
Like I think like one of the first tracks in Bar Is Closed is like Life of Agony, I think.
All right. I can't even remember it.
I think Ring of Fire was mostly like pop punk stuff.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't even remember off the top of my head, but yeah.
I have to check it out.
Pretty much everything that was on that sampler.
The sampler from front to back, yeah? Oh, that was a bad period of time for BMX music soundtrack.
That was like the beginning of Props Rock.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. And what's the time frame between Ring of Fire and Bar Is Closed? I remember Bar Is Closed was it seemed way more pro than Ring of Fire, but I don't know why. Like, someone done the graphics for the cover or something.
I think Hallman. Yeah, there was no graphics for Ring of Fire cover. It was just a label. And then Hallman helped out with the graphics. I think maybe that was about when Tread was starting. So Ring of Fire probably came out in '95, and then Bar Is Closed in '96. So it's probably like a year between it. And then Ring of Fire was all random style editing, and then Bar Is Closed had like rider sections.
Okay.
So that was like the big difference.
Who was in that? Colin Winkleman had a part in that, I think.
Colin Winkleman, Wilbur had a part.
Oh, okay.
A bunch of people. Paul Buchanan had a small section in there. Gilly, Mike Tagg. There was a bunch of people, and there was a bunch of like split sections also.
All right.
Yeah.
And did that have like Social Distortion in that? Maybe.
Yeah, Social Distortion. A couple local bands were in there. Yeah, a bunch of like the music. There was a Sick of It All song in there. Stu had a section with Sick of It All. Like, I think he had a split section with maybe Lee Ramsdale and Joe Rich.
Oh, okay.
And that was there was a Black Train Jack song in there.
All right, yeah. I think I remember that. Yeah. And what's the scene like? So the scene's now like it's grown, obviously, because all this stuff's happening. It reflects like a growth.
I think some of the guys started getting bike sponsors. Like I think Colin maybe got on DK around that time.
All right.
And I think Tag kind of had a couple sponsors, but was just like he was more like an independent dude still. Stu was still doing like a bunch of video stuff, and like I don't know, it's kind of just like a more in-depth version of like the year before. There's just we met more people, like more people started coming and hanging out with us. Yeah, we traveled to more places, and like at that point we've met so many people and we've been to so many places because we would just work for a few weeks to get enough money to stay on the road, and then go to a BS contest in Kansas or like Rampage contest in Iowa. Meet the standard guys out there. So just like it just kept like spreading out.
Spreading.
And we'd been to California for the first time, so we met like the Sheep Hills locals and like Timmy Ball and all those kind of dudes.
Okay.
So we just started meeting everybody, and like everybody was doing the same thing. Like they would all work shitty jobs for a while and then just travel.
Yeah.
So like people would come visit us or stay with us because we had one of the early BMX houses, so it was like people knew that they could just come and crash there and then ride, and then kind of use that as a launch pad to go to other spots.
To return the favor, to go to other places. And what did you guys do? Drive to California, obviously.
Yeah, we packed in a 1980 Datsun, like me, Gilly, and Kevin Landis, this one dude, um, drove out there. It was like a 30-hour straight. And then I feel like Tag and Stu had maybe taken Stu's car out there that year and broken down, and that's when they were filming 1201.
All right.
Like so 1201 was kind of around the same time as like Ring of Fire and Bar is Closed.
All right. And what about the camera for The Bar is Closed? Did you have your own camera now?
I think that was a hand-me-down props camera that I'd gotten from them. So it was like pretty, like Ring of Fire was, I think both of those were hand-me-down props cameras. Like they would get an upgrade and be like, hey, we'll sell you this one for like $400.
Oh, okay.
Whatever it was, and I would borrow the money from somebody to pay for that.
Oh, cool, man.
And then hopefully pay them back.
And what's the next step after that? Like, because I know, was the next video Live Fast Die, but there was a gap, right? That was like a little couple of year gap between them two.
I think Live Fast Die might have come out like late '97.
Okay.
So eventually we all started leaving the fat house. It was like, I think we lived there all together like 93 to 96-ish. And then Colin had moved back to Dayton where he was from. So I kind of followed him back to Dayton and stayed there for like a year. And then Tag came and stayed a few months. And then we migrated to, I think Tag went back to Ithaca. Gilly and Stu were still in Fort Wayne at the time. And then me and that dude Wilbur moved to Bethlehem and lived at the Butt Hut.
Okay.
And then, so Live Fast Die was like Fort Wayne, Dayton, Ohio, Bethlehem, and Ithaca footage. And I think I went up to Ithaca and me and Tag like combined whatever footage we had and filmed and edited Live Fast Die, probably, over the course of a weekend.
How did that edit come about? Because that, like, to me, that's like one of the like benchmark videos of all BMX videos. Because at the time, like, I remember, I think I watched that might have been in Custom Riders, like a BMX shop over here. And I remember watching it and being like, whoa, this is like clack, 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 clack. It was so fast. And things went.
I think it was two things. I think at first we thought we had too much footage. So we're like, let's see how much we can cram in here. But then we were also like, we just didn't really have the time or the fucking interest in the bullshit. We're like, this is just about the riding and the chaos, let's just like fire it out. And like, I think that just kind of became our style, like cram as much wild shit into. And it was just like, all that other stuff is just kind of filler, like I think we were kind of over the idea of filler and we're like, let's just do the opposite and like fill it with just total chaos.
Yeah. So and then when I watched it, I was like, I've got to watch that again. I don't even know what happened. I just know it was cool, and the music was like a really noticeable change for BMX music as well. It was like
we were listening
heavy
to
stuff
some heavy
in there.
music.
Yeah, it was really good, and it all fitted so well. And it was like a new. Like I'd seen the East Coast before quite often, but this was like a new East Coast that I'd not seen.
We were like establishing ourselves as like the new generation of like of like the dudes, and like I think we fit like an hour and a half's worth of footage into like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
I
couldn't believe how short it was. I was like, well, let's watch it again, like straight away. Yeah, so really it was like but
also we were listening. We were like that was like we were in the zone. We were like wild. We were young. Yeah, we were just like, let's see how much stuff we could do, like in general, not just like editing a video, but like we wanted to see and do everything at the time. And the video was kind of just like same deal. We're listening to fast, heavy music, and we're like, bing, bang, boom, and the music kind of sets the pace, and it's like we were always tried to pay attention to like using music that would like bring out like the riding real well, and like sync up with the tempo real good. So like. If you're listening to fast music, you can't have like a bunch of lead up and like no one cares about the rollout, no one cares how fast you're pedaling at the jump. They know when Stopper's in there and he just lays over that tabletop. Yeah, and he's going fast. You don't need to see him pedaling down the street at something.
Yeah, okay, and the artwork that like the cover art was your art as well, wasn't it? It was like it was really dark colours and stuff. Like,
yeah, it was like a flaming TV with like a bunch
that's
of
it.
people worshiping it. And then
Yeah.
our buddy Forgas shot the photo. It was me and Tag and like an empty bottle of whiskey on the cover, and like a
All
bunch
right.
of just empties all over the place. So it was like a photo of me and Tag inside the TV. Like, you know, it's a little bit vain in hindsight to put yourself on the cover of a video, but like it was like me and him making the video. That was kind of like the idea, you know?
Yeah, I think like if I look back at FBM, I would say that's the first thing that became like the full FBM look and package.
Yeah, it was like
that's it. That's the style that you're going with now. Like
we were like kind of coming into our own. As like we were teenagers before, and now we're like young adults, and we're like kind of becoming like a little bit more established, a little bit more confident in who we were. You know, like we weren't just like scared kids. Like, hey, what's up? We're like, hey, motherfucker, what's up?
We're here now. Yeah.
You got any beer for us?
Oh, and what comes from that must have sold a ton of videos, right?
Yeah, like so all those VHS videos we were selling a lot of, because like I said, it was like there wasn't much on the market back then. So, you know, if you could get one of the distros to pick it up, and then like they would just order a ton of them, and shops were like, oh, cool, yeah, I'll buy a video. You know, so like, I mean, I think in those early videos, it was like well over 1,000 per video, you know, like maybe even more than that on some of them.
Cool.
You know?
Yeah, I'll definitely say that must have done more than that because BMX was booming at that point as well.
Yeah, so I don't remember. I'm sure it's maybe written down somewhere. I didn't keep track of it, but like probably like thousands of videos at that point, like per video.
And did you have a distro for that, or you just did it yourself?
I think maybe like a couple small distributors picked up a handful of them, but like nothing like an exclusive deal or anything yet at that point.
All right.
But like Dan's Comp would buy like, you know, say, oh, send us 400 videos or something, you know, like,
oh, wow.
Like that kind of thing would happen, you know?
Yeah. Cool. And did that launched FBM into the next level, right?
I mean, it was all kind of like just
or was
happening.
it just a steady growth?
Yeah, there wasn't like one time where it was like everything just like blew up.
Okay.
It was just like,
over here, that's when like most people.
you guys probably just hadn't like seen us yet.
Yeah.
But like in our heads, it was just like we were just kept doing the same shit.
Yeah.
And just doing more of it. So like, I don't remember specifically there being a point where it was just like, hey, like, oh, this is like the big boom.
Yeah, just steps forward.
You know, it's just kind of like when you're building jumps and like you build a little one and you kind of get it dialed in, and then the next one's going to be a little bit bigger, and like, you know, so on and so forth. We just kept building off of everything, like, you know, just like you would in the trails. You know, you're like, this landing's too small. Let's build it up. You know, like same idea, same concept.
Nice. And has the team grown at this point?
It was never like an official team. It was more like a crew. So it was like whoever was around us, you know, like it wasn't like here's a contract and you're part of the team.
Yeah, of course.
Like, it was like we were just childhood friends, and then like whoever, like we kind of just like found each other, like different random people, you know, like, and if we were in proximity, you know, it's like you meet somebody that's like on the same wavelength, and like you just kind of jive together, and like it just, you know, say, you know, like some dude ends up, you know, I was sharing a room with Stoffer, so he was like technically on FBM for a while at the Butt Hut.
Yeah.
You know, like, and like, well, I was living with Colin for a while, so he was technically on FBM for a while, you know, like, but it was never like official. So it was just kind of like almost like a traveling circus, you know, like if you were around us, you were part of the crew.
Yeah. Okay. And what was the video that you think they were all just steps forward?
I feel like it was all pretty like
just
natural
progressive. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I always assumed Albert Street would have been like a huge deal.
It was pretty popular.
Yeah.
It was pretty ridiculous. I mean,
that's what I thought. Yeah.
That came out in like 98 or something like that. And I still like, you know, if I post something on social media, like somebody would be like, eat a light bulb, go big, it's a green bottle. And I'm like, dude, that was like That was like 4 lifetimes ago, dude.
That was a real good one as well. That was Live Fast Die, but like longer. Like it seemed,
Yeah.
you know, it was just
And
like
like
fully.
we'd met more people again and traveled to more places, and like, yeah, we just filmed everything that we were doing, you know. But
Yeah,
also, like, at that time, like, we kind of gotten a taste for the wildlife with Live Fast Die, so it was like you kind of start pushing it a little bit more, you know, like let's see what we can get into, you know. And the camera's
yeah,
always there, you know. It was like, it wasn't like let's do something crazy for the camera, but it would be like, oh, let's do something crazy, and someone's like, oh, hold on, let me grab the camera.
yeah.
It's like,
Okay.
it was like always something wild happening. And
Did you ever go on? Sorry.
Tag was like a big instigator for, like, you know, just trying to create interesting situations.
All
And
right.
like, and I was like always down for it. So like,
I remember Tag was low key, wasn't he? Like you would never
he'd
have
be
him
like,
down
he'd
for
be like
someone who's instigating.
he'd be the dude in the background being like, I bet you won't do that. Like, or
Yeah,
check this out, or, you know, like he'd set the fire and then walk away, you know. And I'd be
yeah,
over
yeah.
there
That's
like,
it. Yeah, and looked like he hadn't set the fire as well. It just looked
yeah,
like
he'd
he
be
was
in the
standing back
background
there. Yeah, crazy.
just giggling to himself.
Did you ever get any backlash out of doing them crazy things by
Yeah,
parents or anything?
like bike shops, like, you know, at that point we had like the upside down cross logo,
Yeah.
and people like that were like into Christianity would get like genuinely freaked out by it and like send us letters and stuff, or like
Oh, okay.
bike shops would be like, no, I'm not interested in that.
All
But
right. Would they stop the other stuff though, and just not that logo? Or
I mean, some shops just were like into it because they knew it was BMX, and some shops were like, you know, kind of just dabbling in BMX, and then they'd be freaked out by us. You
all
know,
right.
they weren't having it. So it was like, and some people like were just like so straight laced, they were just like didn't get it. You
Yeah.
know, we're just like pushing boundaries. But like a few years later, or like a year or two after Albert Street came out, we were on a road trip, and Tag was such a cheapskate. He was taping over the Albert Street original tapes, and we and it was a road trip. It was me, Ralph Sinisi, Bob Sherbo, George DeSantos, and Tag, and we were like on an FBM trip filming for like what would be the next video, and we got in trouble, and the cops like started looking at the footage, and some of the Albert Street original footage was on the tape that they were watching, and they like straight up arrested us right there, and like we spent the weekend in jail.
Oh no way.
Yeah.
Well, arrested you for what?
Well, Tag and Ralph were doing a handrail, and someone at like a
Oh
university,
yeah, okay.
and someone had complained, and the cops came over, and then and then they saw the footage, and they thought we were wrecking where we were. They didn't know that it was old footage. But, you know, there was like toilet bowl getting blown up or something like that on the tape. So
Okay.
the cops were freaking out. But we ended up going to jail and almost getting in a lot of trouble. Like we spent the whole weekend in jail, and then had to like, I remember I had to call my mom to like get us bailed out. And it was a big fucking deal. Like it was a big stressor. But then after that, after we all got out of jail, we were supposed to be going to Texas. We were in Georgia at the time. And we got out, we just started driving home. And we were like so like freaked out at like spending time in jail. And the cops had searched the van, but they didn't find anything. But Ralph had like a whole bag of mushrooms.
I've heard
in
this
the van.
story, yeah.
And he ate all the mushrooms while we were driving back. And then we camped for the night. And he had like a epiphany that night. And that's when he invented the idea of animal bikes.
No, I've heard that story before.
So Albert Street inadvertently helped fucking spawn Animal,
Helps,
because
yeah.
Tag was such a cheapskate.
Spawn a whole new genre of riding, almost, so to speak. But
Yeah, I remember Ralph was in the campsite, and he was like his dad had been giving him a hard time. He was like, Ralph, you're like 2 steps away from being a bum, you know, because he was just like smoking weed and drinking beer and riding his bike. And he like, I remember he pops up and he's like, I have an idea. I'm going to start a new company, and it's going to be all street, only street. And we're like, all right, cool, whatever. You know, we were all just like, all right, whatever. I'm like, go to bed, Ralph.
yeah.
He was up all night. But then, you know, we went home and like went through the whole process of dealing with the courts and all that stuff. And then, you know, maybe later that year, give or take, like Animal started.
What did you have to do? Pay pay for that
Yeah, it was
stay
like,
in.
yeah, like we were got a letter that said we weren't allowed to come back to Georgia for 2 years.
Oh no way.
Yeah, we were almost going to go to jail for a while. Like they were going to charge us with destruction of government property because it was like a state university. It was a big mess.
I remember somebody. I've heard this before. I can't remember who else on something, but yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, no way, man. Yeah, not good. Just going out to ride your bike, you end up in jail.
Well, it didn't help that Tag and Ralph gave the cops fake names.
Oh, okay.
So it was just a big mess, but they were mostly just mad that there were some dudes from like New York, coming down south and raising hell. And then they were going to like make an example out of us. I didn't like it. I didn't like being in jail.
No, I'm not surprised. I don't think, Pete, you're supposed to, are you?
No, those places suck.
It's not supposed to be a highlight of your life, I don't think.
Some people like it.
And at this point of time, you're making frames as well, right? That's happened. That happened after Live Fast Die.
I think it's about 98, 99 is when we first started getting sample frames made.
Okay. And what spawned that?
I don't know. It was like I think we started just like, we had seen all these other people like have bike companies and like, eventually we're just like, oh, they're just like dudes.
They're just like us, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, why don't we? And then like, I don't remember the time frame exactly, but I remember a bunch of the dudes left Standard and like, I think Taj left Hoffman and like Kink was talking about doing a frame and like, we had all just kind of like were around the same idea. Like, I think it was just time for like a new generation of people that wanted to make their own shit.
Yeah.
I don't think there wasn't a business plan, but like, I think maybe we'd gotten a sample sprocket made and, but also like we were like riding enough and like, we're like, oh, like this bike is cool. Like it'd be cool if it was like this, like we kind of just wanted to make our own thing.
Yeah.
And like, I think it was just another thing. It was just another step in like the natural progression of like, a group of dudes doing stuff and sharing ideas.
Yeah. Because we came out for the launch, maybe it was 98, and it was Seek and Destroy, that place in Ohio, the supermarket. And you guys had the frames there.
Oh, Chenga World.
Yeah, that's it, Chenga World, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we must have gotten our first frames like around then.
Yeah, I remember you had some red ones there, but maybe a black one as well.
Yeah, I think the first frames were red and black. Like that one right there that's literally my first production. Yeah, it's a red one.
Amazing.
I got it back years later and redid it.
Oh, cool, man. And that seemed to have really good traction as well when you started the hard goods. Did you have bars as well, or was that later?
Yeah, so I think bars were like, we did frames and sprockets probably around the same time. The sprockets were really popular because no one really did sprockets, and Tag kind of figured out a way to like, he found a dude to make them, and like we sold a ton of sprockets, and then we did some bars, and I don't remember if it was 100 or 150 was the first run of Angel of Deaths, but like we pre-sold all of those, so like we were on like some pretty good momentum at the time.
And you had distros for that, right?
Yeah, I don't remember. I think maybe System Cycle distributed the first sprockets and then the bars and maybe some frames. But the first frames, I think we just sold on our own because they were already pre-sold. It was like there was no need for a distributor yet.
Yeah.
And then I think we did System Cycle for a while. Like they helped out with a bunch of stuff, and they own DK.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't soon after that like Tip Plus had become like the main player for distributing, and we went with them, and they ordered a ton of stuff off of us, like bars, sprockets, like bunches of frames.
They were big players back then, weren't they?
Like they were like in tune with the BMX shops real well, and like so those were like the first two distributors.
And what was the frame like? What frames did you choose, like geometry wise? Like, oh, we want it to ride like this and this or whatever. Can you remember?
I remember I was riding an STA.
Okay.
At the time, I feel like maybe Tag had like a hand-me-down Taj that Taj had given him.
All right.
So like I think it was kind of like, a morph of those two bikes, like the geometry of like the STA, and then like the Taj had like a couple different wishbone things going
Yeah.
on. So I, kind of like somewhere in that area, but I think the geometries were pretty similar at that point. But I think like a lot of the, like we all grew up riding S&Ms, but then eventually like standard was like the dominant, frame choice in that era. And they had like a pretty solid geometry. So I think it was like pretty similar to the STA.
Okay.
And then just kind of like tailoring it to like our own ideas.
Yeah. And you picked up more riders once you got the hard goods as well. Like it seemed to branch out a bit.
Yeah, same style though. It was like people that we were hanging around with and like, similar deal. I'd have to have like a list to like remember who was who and when,
Yeah.
But it was like the main crew, like Kelly had like gotten back into things and was like part of the crew at that point, like, so.
Yeah, okay. And that was this around the same time as Road Fools 2, or was that pre-frames?
Road Fools 2 was when we had the first, I guess the second and third prototypes for the Angel of Death. We got like the week before Road Fools 2.
All right.
We went on those with them. So then when Road Fools 2 was done, I think we started going into production around then.
Okay, so around the same time. And what was that trip like? I watched that video actually the other day. I thought it looked really fun.
I mean, it was insane.
Yeah.
Like, me and Tag met up with Greg Walsh and drove from upstate New York to Chicago. So that was like a trip on its own. I think we stopped at Chenga and rode. And then we got to Chicago and met up with Marco and Rye and got in the bus with like a couple other people. And then it was like a 2-day, 3-day drive across the country in that bus, just us sitting there like just fucking kooking out. But we were like, so like everything was still so new to us, but like even just being in the bus was just like the coolest shit ever.
Yeah.
And like meeting, I mean, some of these people we'd never even met before. Like, I don't remember if we'd even met Rooftop or Brian Castillo yet. Like, but we'd met like Robbie Morales and those dudes. And, we drive across the country and meet up with everybody. And then, it was kind of a mix between being like cooped up and burned out from that crazy drive, but also being like super excited.
Yeah.
And like, we had our own bikes and like, I think Joe had maybe like one of the early T1s at that point. Okay. I think Greg had a sample kink. And I think Jimmy and Brian were trying to get a sample metal bike.
Yeah, that's time. Right. That was on there.
Like a whole new generation of bike brands was kind of like happening all at the same time. And like, and we were all in the same bus together. So like a lot of big personalities and like a lot of long stretches of driving where we're all in the same room together, like kind of being a bunch of young like antagonists. So it was a little like there was some tension from like different personalities in there, but not in like a I hate you sort of way, but just like you put a bunch of like 20-something-year-old knuckleheads in a bus and drive across the country. It's like you're gonna have some arguments, Yeah, but they were like kid arguments, but like I said, like lifelong friends with all those people.
Yeah, it looked. Well, I haven't seen it for ages, and I watched it like a couple of days ago, and I thought it looked really good. Like, but they talk about that in the video, like things get a bit tense in some of the some of the drives.
Personalities, and like different types of personalities. Like I'm super outgoing, and Brian Castillo's like not. And like Robbie Morales is a loudmouth, and like so is Rooftop. So they're like.
Yeah, that's it. That's who I assumed was crashing. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of footage there. But the trip looked good, though. The trip still had that that magic of the Road Fools 1, I thought. Even though it was different, it still had that magic to it.
It was definitely like a little different than Road Fools 1. But like for me, it was like witnessing Tag kind of like under the influence of like Joe and some of these heavy riders and like be like, fuck it, like I'll do this rail. Like, I don't feel like he had done as many rails as he did on that trip. Like,
all right,
he had done some heavy shit already. But like, he was riding with these dudes that were like the highest level, and he was like, I guess I'm riding with these guys right now. And he was just
Yeah.
firing out crazy stuff. And like to see the dude that you've known your whole life, like hanging with like the top pros was like, I remember that being a big moment for me personally. Cause like those dudes were like, miles ahead of me as far as riding goes.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I always loved riding and I still do, but I was never like the big pro dude, like,
Yeah.
and watching Tag go from like my childhood friend to being like in the ranks of like Rooftop and Lee Ramsdell and, Joe Rich is like pretty fucking heavy. Like,
yeah, man.
It was, and we had our own bikes. It was like, those were like magic moments, Like,
Yeah.
it was like a whole new world. It was just like, they opened up the door of the bus and we got out and it was like, all right, BMX part 3,
Yeah. The dawning, yeah, man. Nice. What was the tension of them trying to make people ride? Where like was there like a battle for footage or something there where they were like, oh, we ain't getting enough stuff?
Not that I remember, but I think like there might have been, and I was just too oblivious to it. I don't know. I think like
I don't mean between each other. I mean like the props guys, because at one point they're saying, oh, we want to hop this rail or something, and it's like, oh, we're not getting enough clips per day, or someone's mentioning something like that, and it's like,
I mean, that might have happened, but I think I think because we spent so much time driving across the country that they were just kind of like, we spent all this money and like we spent all this time. We got to make sure that we're going to make something out of this.
Goods.
It was still all pretty unknown back then, so I think everyone was just kind of like. If I had to like look in hindsight, I think everyone was just kind of overwhelmed because it went from being like, we're just hanging out and doing cool shit to like, all right, this is the production.
Yeah.
And like, once that happens, like someone's like trying to take it a little bit more serious than like somebody else. And it's like, it just gets a little hectic.
Yeah, it starts bouncing around.
It's like some dudes are just like they're like, I'm not working this week. I'm in the bus. Like, I'm just hanging out. And some dudes are like, this is my shot at the big time.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it did look really good though, I thought, from when I watched it.
But I mean, it was a magic moment in BMX, really. Like a whole new generation of brands pretty much like launched from that time period, that video specifically. Like, and like people were kind of like, developing their own personalities. They weren't just BMXers, like T1 was its own thing, like metal was its own thing, like FBM was its own thing, like. And there was like the riders that were sponsored, like.
Yeah, so new vibes coming in, weren't there?
Yeah, it wasn't like, you were part of an existing team and like kind of like trying to fit that mold. Like everyone was like becoming who they were, and like the brands were kind of like a reflection of that. So I mean, that was pretty fucking big for BMX in that era.
I did like the fact that Road Falls 1 was like wintry. And Road Falls 2 was like summery as well. I thought that was like nice. Yeah, good contrast between the two.
It was cool, man. It's crazy. I mean, it was so long ago. It's like I have to watch the video to remember any of it.
Yeah. No, same. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'd watched that loads of times before, but when I was watching it the other day, I was like, "Oh, this is really good." Yeah, better than what I remembered it actually. Yeah, for some strange reason.
I think when it first came out too, like people were trying to like. Say what's better, Road Falls 1 or Road Falls 2?
Yeah.
But they were like totally different videos.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you're not going to recreate the Jimmy the Van Church gap, or like, Joe Rich doing backwards rails for the first time. Like, you're not going to recreate that stuff. But like, we created something totally different, like as a group and with that.
Yeah, it had a totally different vibe to it as well.
Yeah.
Like it didn't feel like the first one. It still looked like a fun trip. Yeah, it was good, man. What was the first time you went to Europe?
I think it was for Bike 2000, either Bike 99 or Bike 2000.
Okay.
I don't remember which year it is, but I remember none of us had passports, and me, Tag, Big Dave, Gilly, Forgash, and a couple buddies all got our passports. We flew over, went to 70s, and like those dudes rented us a van, and then I feel like that's when we met you guys, because we all caravanned down to Palavas.
Yeah, okay.
For that event, and like we all drove there. We all stayed at that caravan park, and like everyone was buck wild. And there was that. I think it was like what became the feast contest.
That's it. Yeah.
So we were all at that. Like the Little Devil team was there. Like our team was there. Like Stricker and Behringer were with us too. I feel like you guys were there.
Yeah, we was there. Yeah.
And then like the 70s dude, like we were supposed to follow like Boyley and Dean and those guys down. And once we got across the ferry, we lost them. And it was just a bunch of Americans, in an English rental van with like a mattress on top of all of our bikes in the back with the side door open, just driving to the south of France. And then, we had our first wild week in Europe, in the south of France, went to Paris and then went to whatever the bike show up in London was after that.
Birmingham it was. It was
Birmingham.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was 99 possibly. I can't remember.
It was either 99 or 2000. And it was like, I feel like we got to see Jerry Galley ride and like John Taylor and like a bunch of the American pros were there, like because 70s would bring all these people over.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Well, you got footage from France as well for an FBM vid, right?
I think in All Time Low we had footage from there.
That's right.
If I'm not mistaken.
I think that's right. Yeah. Yeah. That was. So that was your first trip to the UK.
Yeah, our first trip to the UK was like a 2-week European trip with like half of it in France and half of it in England. And then we met the Scottish guys too. Like,
all right, yeah.
I feel like we met everybody, and it was like meeting the Scottish dudes. It was like, oh, you guys are our people. And then like meeting you guys, like the rowdy like union dudes. Like it was like, oh wow, like we're meeting like our tribe, like from a different continent.
Yeah, this is that. I'd met like you before that. I'd met you when I came to Ithaca one year when I was at Posh with Stoffer Sales and Gilly. Yeah, we stayed at your house. I can't remember.
It's hard to remember. All those years start to blend together after a while.
Yeah, it was 97 or 98. I think it was 97.
But
I already knew you from then. So
it was awesome to come over there and like be like, man, these are like dudes that are into the same kind of shit we're into. And can't understand a word anyone's saying, but like we're all laughing and having a good. We all like understood each other.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Once those Scottish dudes had 3 beers, you couldn't understand a word they were saying.
And I remember you guys ended up in London at one point, and we went. I met you somewhere, and we went and got some Indian in King's Cross. Do you remember that?
I mean,
and somebody said I found a hair in my food. I can't remember who it was.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I remember, we came over there a bunch. Like I must have been over there a bunch of times over the years, like. But the first handful of trips, like, I think then the following year we came over and it was like a big 70s trip, and like, the Kent team and the FBM team, like, a bunch of us would fly over there and like, we'd end up in a van full of who knows who, going to like backyard jams or those bike shows. But at this point, like, I can't remember what year was what, like, but we met all you maniacs. I remember Max picked us up at the airport one time.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, he was rolling a spliff.
Oh, no way. I can't even remember that. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, there was like a bunch of different tours. We went to like, what was the park? Was it in Northampton? Was there a park? Corrigan?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
No, we went to the Boneyard one time. I mean, I think there was more trips than I even remember, because we went to so many spots and met so many people.
You guys was at ROM as well. Can you remember that?
Oh yeah, I remember we went to ROM. There was like we met one of the locals there that had like a real good 1-footed X up in that Clover Bowl.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Ross. Yeah,
I think he was in maybe he was in Albert Street. Shit, it could have been. I had it in All Time Low, beginning of All Time Low, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would go to that Brixton Park.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, because Tag had some good stuff there, didn't he?
Yeah, he did like overhead stick on that wall.
Yeah, that's it. I remember the pictures.
Yeah. And I think like Tag and Corrigan had done some Lord trips with those guys too. Like,
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wait. So, and then, like, how is FBM growing at this point?
So, like, around that time, like we we're like maxing out with like the size of the company that we were at, like we're like getting bars made, sprockets made. We had like our first official like, business office. And then it must have been 99 or 2000, like our offices caught on fire.
Okay.
And then that was kind of like a critical moment. It was like, okay, do we like call it a day or do we like go for it? And we're like, okay, let's go for it. And we started the machine shop around then. So it must have been late 99, early 2000. We started the machine shop. And that's when like FBM really started to take off. We ended up in the basement of East Coast Terminal, which is that skate park over in Binghamton.
Yeah.
And, the dudes from the skate park, like, were like, hey, like we were already locals there at this point, but they're like, like you guys are welcome to try to like build out a space in the basement. It was a giant, factory before the skate park was there. So we just, pooled our resources and built the machine shop. And then at that point, we'd also started our own distribution called Last Call.
Oh, yeah,
and,
I remember, yeah.
We stopped doing, going through other distributors and started our own distribution and like built out a warehouse and built out a machine shop and, hired some BMX buds to like, run the shop. And that's like, that was when it went from being like, we were well known and like doing some cool shit and like making some bikes to like, okay, now we're a proper bike company. Like we're a bike factory, we're a bike warehouse. We got like offices and a forklift and, like shelving.
Yeah.
Boxes.
That's insane though. Like what was the last call distributing?
What was it?
What was it distributing? What brands?
Shit, I remember like the dudes from ECD did a shoe company for like 5 minutes.
Oh,
and we
okay,
did that.
yeah. I remember that.
Like we did like
Dead Memory.
I think we might have done Dead Memory. We did Man-Made. There's just like a couple small brands that we did.
Yeah.
Like, and then just like it was basically just like we wanted to have a distribution to like officially sell FBM without it just being called FBM.
Oh, okay.
So it was mostly FBM stuff, but like we would sell some stuff here and there,
Yeah.
But it was like we were always like the machine shop was so expensive to run that it didn't really give us a lot of room to like try to be a warehouse for other bigger brands.
Yeah.
So it'd be like small brands that we would just try to help out or
on the side. Yeah. Cool, man. Where did all the machine stuff come from? Making the frames?
Where did it come from?
Yeah, like how did you get that stuff? It must be expensive.
I mean, we bought a lot of it used. Like a lot of it was like manual lathes and manual mills that were like already like 40 or 50 years old, but it was the same equipment.
Yeah.
And like Spooky, who had made our original Angel of Deaths, had gone out of business. So Dave, who had worked at Spooky, was kind of like in charge of helping us assemble the machine shop. And he kind of like sourced some old like equipment from them. And then like the tooling, we kind of just like started making on our own, like the tooling is like the big part of it. And like a lot of that was made in house, like framed fixtures and whatnot.
It sounds like a nightmare.
I mean, it
sounds cool, but like it sounds like a headache. Like
people thought Albert Street was crazy. I think the craziest thing we ever did at FBM was like start a machine shop.
Yeah.
Like it was like, I mean, it was awesome, but it was such a big undertaking, and like we were so naive to like the scope of it all. But at the same time, we were so excited to do our own thing that it was like, why wouldn't we do this? Like we were already getting kind of like, low man on the totem pole customer service, from our vendors. So it's like if you don't have like the biggest budget, then you're not going to get the best customer service with like frame manufacturing or like any bike industry stuff. So we're like, nobody's going to do as good a job for us as we are. So we might as well do it ourselves. And, like growing up around like the punk and the hardcore scene, it was like kind of already like ingrained in us, like the DIY, culture of it all.
Yeah.
And, we kind of just had the opportunity. I don't think, we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into, but it was like, it was always just jump in the fire style, like once you're in there, you have to do it. So.
Yeah. Okay. Did you make bars as well?
Moeller made the two-piece bars for us.
Okay.
We didn't have. You needed a CNC tube bender for that, and like you need to sell a lot of bikes to pay for that kind of equipment.
Yeah.
So we only had a tube bender to make forks and like 4-piece bars. So like we could make 4-piece bars, but we couldn't make 2-piece bars in house.
Oh, okay, because of the two more bends, right?
Yeah, technically it's like there's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And then up sweep and back sweep. So it's like 6 or 8 bends. And I think the back sweep is the one that like we wouldn't have been able to do.
Oh,
but it wouldn't have been straight anyhow if we'd have done it ourselves.
Oh, okay.
That's why the early slam bars were crooked as hell, because they were probably made with like the same kind of equipment we had.
What, the early slam bars or the slam bars that they made?
Yeah, like the ones that we'd get in like 1992 or something.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense, yeah. And this is when FBM becomes like, from the outside looking in, it looks like it's really taken flight at this point. Is this like Livewire and like all those frames?
This is
the Steadfast and stuff.
Steadfast was later. Livewire was probably, I would guess, 2006, 7-ish.
Oh, a little bit later.
So 2001 to like 2000, maybe it was like 2004. I don't remember, but it was like first runs was like Angel of Death and then Night Trains, and then we did Gilly's Bike, which was the Old Boy, and then it started to evolve from there. You know, like I forget the order of things after that, but like PW Motos, you know,
oh, that's right, yeah, the deployer,
Capone deployer, like. I forget the exact order, but it was that kind of stuff started happening, you know, in the early 2000s.
All right, and somebody else was doing graphics for you then?
It was half and half. Like so Hallman worked for us for a little while and like was kind of like really good at taking some of my ideas or, you know, implementing his own ideas and making them more professional. And then some dudes that we grew up riding with were also printing our T-shirts, and they were graphic designers also. Like I was always like technically the art director, but like I was never like a great graphic designer. So like I would have ideas, and like sometimes there'd be someone like Hallman or these dudes from American Icon that would like kind of bring my ideas to life and make them more professional.
Okay, because I remember a run of tees that you did with it was one of them was a record. There was a pigeon.
Yeah, then that was like my artwork. That was like my artwork, but they would make it like legit.
Yeah, they was really good. Them ones, yeah. Not that the others weren't good, but they was like they were like a new era of stuff. Yeah.
I felt like I had good ideas, but I wasn't able to develop them with my graphic skills. And those dudes would be like I would give them like a mock-up of like I remember I made the record shirt and I gave it to them, and they're like, "That's cool." And then they were like, "But check this out," and I'd be like, "Oh, that's fucking cool."
Yeah,
you know, like,
I remember
that's kind of like how it was with Hallman too. Like, you know, Hallman was just really good with graphic design, but like he was able to take my ideas and make them like polished.
Yeah. And what stage does FBM start like declining?
I would say I feel like there was like an economic like recession in like 2008.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So around then, I feel like it didn't hit BMX for like another year or two.
Yeah.
But like around then, things started just getting a little, you know, wobbly. We did completes for like 3 years, and that pretty much like used all our money. So I would say like once like our original crew started aging out a little bit, and like we just kind of weren't like the new guys in town anymore. You know, like BMX was starting to change, and we were kind of like
that's it. Yeah.
That point.
Yeah.
Like so, sometime around 2008 to 2010, I feel like we started to like. Yeah, maybe around 2010 we started nosediving more and more. You know, like, I don't remember what year Aaron Ross became part of the program, but we like sold a ton of shit around then. So maybe it kind of went up and down.
2007, possibly.
Yeah, so like we would do real well, and we would like shit the bed, and then we would do real well, and then shit the bed. But then the
Yeah.
arcs started getting bigger, you know.
Yeah,
And
that's
then,
it. Yeah.
So
Yeah, because that's the normal way for any company really. You go up, if you're lucky, you go up, and then you come back down again. It's just like they come back down, and you've got that's a hard bit to sustain, right?
and it was so expensive to run the business that it was hard to compete with like these new brands that were coming out, or like, you know, brands with better resources. So like we didn't have a budget to have like a celebrity team, you know, like Fit had come out, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, not soon after, you know, Odyssey put out Sunday, you know, like, you know, Kink had a pretty big team at that point. So like these bigger companies had bigger teams, and we were still just like the dudes.
Yeah.
You know? So like, and like the kids that were getting into BMX were like, well, I don't care about these knucklehead stuff.
Yeah.
They're like, I want to check out this fucking new shit. You
Yeah.
know, like,
Yeah.
you know, they want to see like Edwin and Chase Hawk, or like, you know, whatever like the new pros were.
Yeah, it's just normal. That's the way it rolls.
I mean, that's the same thing that happened when we got popular. Like the brands that were before us got less popular.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like it's just the way things go. You know, like, but it didn't help that we were always poor. You know.
Yeah,
it's like,
of course not.
But at the same time, it was like I'd say we were like pretty fiercely independent. So it was like, you know, we didn't have like a corporate umbrella that we could just like exist within.
Delve into,
So,
yeah. How many people worked at FBM and Last Call?
So like me and Mike, like I started FBM, and then Mike Erb became my partner in like the later 90s. So me and Mike owned the company, and then there was probably like maybe 10 or 12 people at our biggest. So there was like 2 or 3 people in the warehouse, and then like 5 or 6 people in the machine shop, and then me and Mike in the office, and then Hallman in the office also. So, but it was kind of like always rotating a little bit. So I don't know if there was ever like a clear count. But I would say there was probably like a dozen people, you know, at our biggest.
So a decent amount, yeah.
And so that's why it costs a lot to, you know, be in business. You know, like the machine shop was really expensive, and then to have a bunch of employees is like, you know,
that's right. Oh, and how many people were actually doing the machining?
There was probably like, you know, a couple of younger dudes doing like the manual work, and then like 2 or 3 welders, and then a dude doing some like, we had a dude named Jim that was like making fixtures and tooling for us.
Okay.
Like at the point when we had that many people, we had a guy just making tooling for us, and he was completely insane. But like, in order to make a lot of bikes and make them efficiently, we had to have good equipment. And like that dude, we found this guy Jim, and he was like, helped make the shop run efficiently and understand things better.
Yeah.
Rather than just being like BMXers that are good at welding, or, you know, good at like machining stuff.
What was he? Just a random dude, or he was a BMX guy?
Yeah, he was not a BMX guy, but like,
that's what you needed.
Yeah, we needed somebody that had machine shop experience, not like BMXers that could work in a machine shop.
Yeah.
So.
And how was it? What was the end of the complete bikes? Because that seemed to hit a wave as well. You seemed to go up on that for a minute.
Well, the first year went really well, and like that dude Guav that was on the freestyle team in the '80s, like helped out with the graphics for the first completes.
Okay.
And I feel like we were early on in the completes game for like small brands. And then the second round was like pretty cool. But by the time the third round came around, like Sunday had come out with completes, like Sabrosa, Kink, like everyone had completes at that point. And we put in our order to get delivered like before the holiday season. So it should have showed up in like November. But like, because we were like a smaller brand, it kept getting bumped. And it showed up in like January. So like we missed the holiday season, and then bike shops don't order stuff in January. They're like usually doing inventory and stuff. So we kind of got like, I don't say we got fucked, but it fucked us. You know, like we ended up with like a bunch of bikes that like people didn't want to buy. So like, and then at the same time, that was one of the first time we had to move the FBM machine shop. So all the money we'd made off the completes, or that we would have made, like we made less because we sold them. It took us longer to sell them. But then we had to move the machine shop, so that ate up all the money. And then it was just like, we were kind of going through it. That's like when we were starting to struggle. like we were getting like, our sales were dipping and like we weren't as cool anymore.
Yeah.
And we were like, we kind of just had to be like, is this sustainable? And we pulled the plug on like the completes. And we were just like, what can we do? And we hired John Paul to work for us at that point too, which is also insane. Like he helped us develop the completes.
Okay.
He had been working at Schwinn before that. But yeah, it was just like the machine shop was our biggest asset, but it was just like a really difficult thing to like make run efficiently and like with a profit. But we decided to like put all our eggs back in the machine shop. Like the idea was to make more money off completes and try to like invest in the machine shop and invest in the team, but it just didn't work out like we hoped.
Didn't go right. Yeah. Okay.
It was too big a business for a small business to do.
Yeah. How did you get out of that hole then? Like, because FBM, it kept going up and like really up and down. You were back, and then you were struggling again. Then you was back, and you were struggling again. You'd hit like some good waves throughout the years.
We would borrow money, and we would get a line of credit.
Oh,
and we would use all that money to like invest in like a new line or like come out with a new frame, or like the idea would always be like we'd come out with a couple new frames and then have a new soft goods line to go with it. And sometimes it hit really well. Like I remember 2018, we were like, on that wave.
Yeah, that's it.
2018, we had our best year since like 2008, and we were killing it. And then the next year, like everyone already had FBMs. They didn't want any more. Like, everyone had bought new bikes. And then, we had to pay the loan back. And like what happens for us, it was like our profit margins were so small. And when you're borrowing money, you have to pay interest back on it. So like the profit and the interest start getting like closer. And then it's like, we're doing all this work just to break even. And then it's just like, you can't get ahead that way. And that's kind of like where like, that was the cycle. You can't get ahead when you're just trying to survive.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can never get your head above the water, can you, so to speak?
Yeah, it's just full survival mode for like those few years. And like, and that was like pretty taxing on everybody's like enthusiasm. Like, it's tough to like be broke all the time.
Yeah.
And we're getting, everyone's getting a little bit older and like
stressful. Yeah.
People are starting families. Like, it's not fun to be broke. It's fine when you're in your 20s and early 30s, but you start getting older, you're like, it'd be cool to be able to like go to the dentist after I fucking it'd be cool to be able to fucking buy groceries. But like, like I don't think people understood like how poor we really were. Like we put everything back into the business, like, the best we understood how to. But like sometimes just breaking even isn't good enough.
Yeah, for sure. Went for 2 decades or whatever. How long was was FBM considered a real job?
For me?
Yeah.
Like we were around like in an official capacity from like 1993 to like 2020. And I probably got paid, like I probably drew a paycheck for like maybe 10 years of that time, maybe 12 years. So like half the time that FBM was around, it was like a real job.
Yeah.
But like I probably could have treated it more like a real job a bunch of those years, like I was just still like along for the ride for a lot of it.
Enjoying yourself.
I was just, just like, oh, this is awesome. I was never really cut out for like the business end of things. I was just like, I was good at like bringing people together and like I had a lot of ideas. But I was not like the details guy. And like details are important. Yeah,
for sure. This is all stuff you learn as you grow up, though, as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, when you're like 25 years old and you're like trying to start a machine shop, like there was no handbook.
Let's go.
Freestyling it. Like it was just like jumping a set of doubles for the first time. You're like, I hope I make it.
Yeah.
I hope I clear it. Sometimes you case it. Sometimes you overshoot it.
When you first like took off on that trajectory or them steady steps to get to that like that big brand in BMX, when you like hit that wave of like being one of them big brands, could you ever see it like going down, or did you just think that's it, we're cruising all the way?
I feel like we never really had any expectation that we should have been there to begin with. So
Okay.
like, and we were just in it. So like, it wasn't like we were having business. We had meetings, we were like trying to do a good job, but it wasn't like we had like, a chart with like, here's our sales for the last 5
Yeah,
years.
of course.
Here's the projections. It was kind of just like, we weren't blind to it, but we were like, oh, if we just work hard enough and like try to do enough cool stuff, then like, it'll buff out, it'll come out in the wash. But like eventually, like, it started off cycling up and then eventually it just starts going down.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're still in it. You can't really see it clearly when you're in it, because it was like, for me, it was like also personal. Like I was like so personally invested in it that like, I was just in it, I was a BMXer just trying to make a go of it.
Yeah, I just think that a lot of people from like that 90s boom just thought that, oh, well, BMX is the best thing out there. And of course, now we're just on that crest and we're going to keep going for like decades. It's never going to stop now.
I think our expectations were so different and our angle, like our perspective like of everything was so different that it wasn't like we were trying to like be a big company. We just kept making steps forward every time there was a new opportunity, and like that's where our success came from. That and like we met a million riders over the years, and like people just related to us, and because we were just everyday BMXers, and we'd met so many people, and we'd done so many events and traveled so much that like we made these connections. So like our success was in that, not in like business projection or being pro riders.
Yeah.
It was just like we were a part of the scene, so we grew and we dissipated with the scene, and then eventually the scene just kind of grows without you, because it's like it's a young man's game.
Yeah, I just from my perspective, like looking at you guys, T1, Metal, all those brands that were really influential and like real like core brands from back then. I just never thought I'd see dip down again. Even Animal, which came up a little bit after. It just seems weird that they dipped down, but not now, but like back then.
Yeah, and I think like as it became more and more obvious, like I said, we weren't blind to it. As it became more obvious that we would have to change to stay as relevant or to like get back to that spot as a BMX brand. But like, I don't know if I was just too stubborn or if we were just like too authentic. But it was like, I didn't want to change what FBM was so that we could be a relevant brand.
Yeah,
like
okay, yeah, of course.
Like I didn't want it to become, I wanted it to be FBM, and it's like, and FBM was like who we were as like a group of friends as BMXers. Like, you can see what the other brands are doing and like what they're doing for success. And that just wasn't who we were. So it wouldn't have been real. And like, because, and, not to say that that's why we didn't continue, but like that plays a part of it. It's like, I didn't want it to be a shittier version of FBM, like.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be any fun either for you to do that. You wouldn't have been into it, so.
It's just, we just wanted to do what we were into,
Yeah, of course.
And sometimes what you're into changes, based on like what you feel like you need to do. But we definitely put some weird shit out into the market over the years. It's like, we're not going to hit a home run with every hit, like.
Of course,
like. But all in all, it was like, I would rather like look back and be like, what we did was cool, and not be like, oh, it was cool until 2019.
Yeah,
and then
okay.
It was like real whack, Like,
yeah. Did you ever like get any pushback from the sort of X Games kind of sports guys about what you was doing with FBM when things started to change around, and you were still trying to do the same similar push up the same vibe?
Those dudes were always real cool with FBM. Like,
oh, no way.
Yeah, like we met Dave Mira early on, and like, like Dennis McCoy rode one of our bikes at one point. Dave rode one of our bikes. We made some bikes for Hoffman, and like dudes like Simon Tabron and like Chad Kagi had come to FBM events. Like, we knew all these people. You still there?
Yeah.
Oh, they were more. I feel like they thought that we thought they were lame,
Okay, yeah. All right.
But
Yeah, because they went to the. I remember that a couple of those guys went to the big quarter pipe event that you guys did.
they couldn't fucking believe it, and I feel like they were always sketched out. They were like, "Oh, these guys are gonna make fun of us, and like they're gonna fuck with us." But they would come hang out with us, and it was just like, "You guys just wear different T-shirts than we do. We're like doing the same thing," and it was awesome. It was always really cool. Like it was always like a little apprehensive. Like they thought we were gonna pick on them, but like Ryan Nyquist jumped in the van with us for Megatour one time, and like. Everyone just got along real well because we were all just BMXers. Nowadays it's probably a little bit different because it's like, there's a little bit, it's like a different culture nowadays.
Bigger divide, yeah.
Yeah, but like back then it was just like, if you were in it, you were in it. But like, and everyone was still like insecure weirdos, So they were like, but they would come to an event and just be like, this is fucking cool. Like, and we would welcome them, just to be a part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
We loved all that shit.
They were cool though, them events. I remember one time when you was doing the ghetto jams and you was like comparing the X Games costing so many millions of pounds or dollars to put on, and then like there's a bunch of pallets behind a warehouse in Ithaca that's like more popular than the X Games, like within the BMX world. Pretty funny comparison.
Those events were like wildly popular, and like, I mean, that's like, well, part of the reason we were like so successful. Like, we were able to get like hundreds, if not thousands, of people to just come to where we were and hang out with us, and people just loved it, And it was like you didn't have to be on the FBM team to come to an FBM event, Like Brian Foster would be at an event, like Rob Tibbs, Jim Solinsky, fucking Stephen Hamilton, like all the like pros of that era. They didn't have to be part of FBM to be like part of the FBM party,
Yeah, man.
And that's what like made it so cool.
Yeah, for sure. Then how many of them ghetto jams were there? They was the standouts, I thought.
We did 3 of those. I think 2002, 2003, and 2004.
Okay.
And then a couple of years later, we did the Brawlin' at the Belmar. We did 3 of those.
Yeah, they look good as well, actually.
Yeah. We usually did 3 of an event, and then we would like move on to like the next idea.
Was the ghetto jam the first one that you did that was like out of a skate park, so to speak, or did you do something before that?
We did like events at like Section 8 and Chango World and East Coast Terminal before that, and like I think we did some at Scrap maybe, but they were all kind of like the same vibe.
Yeah.
And then I don't really remember how we got the idea, but it was like, let's just do the opposite. I think we were contrarians, so we were like, let's just do the opposite of what's going on right now, and we just like had some old ramps and put them in the parking lot behind FBM, and then like other dudes show up and they're like, can we make this thing over here? We're like, yeah, do whatever you want, man. Like, pull that car up that's like an abandoned car, drag that over here, and like
man.
Like it was pretty much, it was all just like a group effort, like everyone that showed up to the party brought their version of fun.
I remember the props footage was really good for one of them events as well. Well, all of them, but one of them was like really stand out. Like, oh, that looks amazing,
It was like, the courses got weirder and more gnarly, and like, every year, like people would be like, oh, I heard about that event. Like, the one year fucking Corey Martinez like ice picks the roof of the building out of this like sketchy ramp, and like, Tibbs does a 900. Jim Solinsky does a pallet loop that Corrigan.
The loop,
it was just like, it was almost like, let's see how, and it was kind of just like the same with the videos. It was like, once something started getting wild, it was like, let's see how far we can take this, and everyone's just like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, everyone's on board with it.
Straight up, and everything was so like parallel, like the bikes, the events, the videos. It was all just like, let's see how much we could get done. Like, let's see what we could do. And it was like, and they all like complimented each other. And that's why we did like as well as we did. Cause like we did events, we did road trips, we did the videos, and we made bikes, and the whole time we're just hanging out and riding with people.
Yeah.
It was basically a dream come true.
It was all the same vibe. Yeah. Like you say, it was like completely parallel. Everything was going.
We were like teenagers back in Ithaca, and we were like daydreaming, like, what do you think we want to do with our lives now? We're like, we really thought this, but like, in hindsight, it was like that was our daydream. Like our dreams literally came true. We like made our own bike company and fucking made a pallet loop.
Yeah, no, unreal. Yeah, changed. Had a hand in changing like the whole of what BMX was, how BMX was looked at. You know, like because back then I looked at things that like, and I was just like, oh, this is terrible. You know, like all the bad stuff before that, like all the '80s kind of race gear and just all that sort of.
The only people that did stuff were the people that had money, and they weren't necessarily like BMXers or cool. Yeah. And like we were just BMXers, and we were like, fuck it, like we don't have any money, but we're gonna do this anyway. And then like with everybody just kind of like becoming a part of the community, like all these ideas just started like bouncing off one another, and like it just made everything grow.
Yeah.
Like you're sitting there hanging out with all your buddies, and someone has an idea. And someone's like, oh, yeah, that's a cool idea, but what if we did this and this and this and this? And then all of a sudden,
you've got it going, yeah.
Yes.
Things are cruising, yeah.
Yeah.
So what like eventually did take FBM? You just run out of money?
Pretty much we ran out of money. Like 2018, we had that really good year, and we were like, leading up to 2018, it was like, we got to like decide like what's going to happen here. Like, and it was like, cool, we had a great year. 2018, best year in 10 years. 2019, not hitting. Like, we're not having great sell-through. We're not having good cash flow. So 2019, the term of our line of credit was up, and the lease on our warehouse space was up at the same time. And it was pretty much like, when this is done, if we're not hitting like we used to be hitting, we should just call it. And it was like, and it was just like.
How many of you was there then?
It was only like 4 of us at this, about 5 of us. There was like 2 dudes in the machine shop, John Lee, Mike Erb, and me. And then, whatever, like the team dudes were like the dudes hanging out in Richmond with me. But it was kind of like, it's just like, do we want to just keep doing like weird shit to just try to make it work? Like, BMX
stuff you don't want to do, yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
Like, it was like, do we want, like I was saying before, we would have had to make FBM like something totally different for it to like work. And it was like, I mean, we kind of did what we set out to do. Like, I'm good if you're good. And I was like, yeah, I think we're good. And like, it's not fair to like everyone else to do a shittier version of FBM, whether it was to the employees or to the team riders or to like our audience. It's like if, like Motorhead got up with like, no instruments and like just lip sync the fucking show, it's like it doesn't cut it. It's like we couldn't do it the best way we could. Like FBM deserved better than what we were capable of doing at that point. So it's like I didn't feel good about trying to keep doing it if it was going to suck.
What you'd created meant more than the next level of like whatever you could do to save it. Yeah.
And it was like we were in our 40s. It's like we just kind of like burned out. Like kind of morale was low. Like we just always struggling to meet the bills. Like nobody wants to be broke forever. Not that we ever did it for the money. But when you kind of like are just perpetually just struggling to make ends meet, it's like, is this really worth it anymore? And it's like, I think we did it. We did what we set out to do. Like, let's just call it a day. Like obviously it's not that simple. There's like a lot behind the scenes that goes on. But that was a long story short. It was just like we did everything we set out to do. Like, and everything now is just trying to sell some stuff to pay bills.
Yeah, okay.
And that's not FBM.
Yeah, it's weird because now it seems like it's leveled out again, BMX, and like you would be able to do FBM as FBM again if it was ever there. But like now it's in them few short years, like say 2012 to like 2016, things were very different, Whereas now it's kind of as leveled out again, from what I see anyway. But yeah, it's still quiet. But
now it's someone else's turn. Like it's the next
generation.
Like, and like whether it's events or like making videos or like starting brands, it's like it's not for a dude that's 50 years old to be like, back in my day, it's like, I still ride like every time every day when I can. And like, I still go on trips and go to events and stuff, but it's like up to like, hopefully what we did with FBM is going to inspire or has inspired like the next group of dudes to do their version of FBM. And it doesn't have to look like or be like FBM, but it's like their version of BMX, like making their scene and like building their community. Like, hopefully that'll be like part of our legacy. Like, not just like, oh, here's this like obscure frame I can like, buy and sell for double. Hopefully the legacy is like, people being inspired to do some of the cool shit that we did for themselves.
Yeah, man. And what was just something I wanted to know out of interest? Like, what was the worst product you think you made with FBM?
Oof. I think the Aaron Ross stuff was the most weird looking.
Okay.
Like the fluorescent colors, but it was like good stuff. The machine shop dudes were real resistant to like making changes when bikes started getting light.
Okay.
So like we put out, I think the autopilot and the deployer were like really popular frames, but they were straight gauge top tubes. Like we hadn't switched to butted tubing yet, and we broke like a lot of those broke on the top tube until we switched to
the autopilots. Yeah.
And it was like that was like I wouldn't say they were the worst bikes. No,
they look nice. Yeah.
They were cool bikes, but like we hadn't switched over to butted tubing, and like riders wanted lighter bikes at that point, and like so that was kind of a bummer. I mean, there was some whack shit in there, but like I'm just going to pretend that didn't happen.
I mean, there wasn't really that much whack stuff. I didn't think. I thought it was pretty solid.
I feel like we kept it pretty true. Like I really, and like I wasn't talking shit about Aaron Ross. Like I was really like,
it was different.
It was his thing. Like I didn't want him to come to FBM and be like, oh, I've got to make it look like FBM. Like I really celebrated the fact that he wanted to make his own style of stuff. It was just so different than what we were doing. I was just like, I was like, that's a neon green bike.
Yeah, the Stairmaster, was it? Yeah.
What's up?
The Stairmaster.
Yeah, the Stairmaster. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel pretty good about most of the stuff we made. I mean, like I said, there was some corny shit in there, but we're cornballs. So.
Yeah. I would disagree. I'd say the only thing that really stuck out to me was the chokehold stem.
You didn't like it?
Well, no, I don't like stems without a back piece, but like that was the only thing I could think of.
It was experimental.
It was weird. It didn't. I think people bought it and are like having trouble with it and stuff. But
this is what happened.
Stems with no back.
I can tell you what happened with that stem. It was like a collar piece that would, press into the fork steer tube.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
And we designed it on, the American dimensions of our steer tube because, we don't do the metric system in America because we're smart.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
I know.
But like all the people that had forks that were made in Taiwan, the tolerance was just under the American version. So it was a slightly smaller, like microscopic, smaller diameter. And we didn't design the stem to fit on, like, say, Odyssey forks or whatever. So it wouldn't clamp tight enough on forks that weren't made in the USA. Because all the USA-made forks had the same outer diameter of the steer tube, and it worked on those. But not everyone had FBM forks or pitch forks.
Yeah. How long did it take you to figure that one out?
Once everyone started complaining that their fucking stem wasn't holding.
What forks they've got. Okay.
Yeah, I think we only did like one run of those, maybe 2 runs.
I remember they were pretty short-lived, but they were like sought after. People wanted them.
Yeah, but that was kind of how it was. Like everything we did was like learn as you go. Like if we did something and it didn't work, we would learn from it and change it. Or if we did something and we learned that we could do it better or improve on it, we would do that. So that was kind of like one of the cool parts about having a machine shop. It was like real-time like progress, which I think was another thing that gave us, a little bit of success was like we were like in tune in a lot of ways with like what riders were interested in.
Yeah. Was it your idea to use the Dr. Martens off the AF cover for one of the graphics?
Kick-Ass Sports, yeah.
That was amazing. Yeah. But you put it on a T-shirt as well at some point.
I think we did, yeah.
I seem to remember that was
we probably did like a couple hundred T-shirts over that span of years. So it's like hard to remember. But I'm pretty sure we did the Boots T-shirt.
Yeah, that was a good one, yeah.
But like music was always like a big influence on like everything we did, you know?
What was the first like bigger hardcore band that you saw?
In '93, I remember seeing we might have seen Chokehold in '93. I feel like it was Snapcase, Shelter, 108, and maybe Chokehold.
Okay.
But like Syracuse was pretty close to us, so like we would go up there and see hardcore bands in the early '90s. I just don't remember which ones are which.
Yeah, that was a big scene, wasn't it?
I remember like some of my buddies, like the first Earth Crisis T-shirts were printed in Ithaca, and like I was there watching them get printed.
Oh, no way!
So like probably saw Earth Crisis in the early '90s, like like the Syracuse bands like Path of Resistance and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And then like we got kind of stoked on bands like Shelter and that nonsense.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I remember 108 was real fucking sick though. Like
108, I still love 108. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like I was like 18 years old. Like I had seen a bunch of like punk and like local hardcore bands, like, but I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, no, I still love listening to that band. Yeah.
Yeah, we would go to like metal shows and punk shows and started going to hardcore shows, but like local shows were our first like introduction to stuff.
Yeah.
But I remember one of the local bands that we saw did a Gorilla Biscuits cover like early on, like before we even understood what it was. So,
okay.
So we were getting introduced to stuff early, like as young teenagers.
Yeah. And how did you like transition away from FBM? Like what? Like when you suddenly that stops, right? How do you come out of that lifestyle? Were you already doing stuff?
Well, I saw the writing on the wall like before we announced that we were going out of business. So I started like my idea was like I wanted to just like become like a freelance artist and like announce Vans contests and whatever. Yeah. But then the pandemic happened, so like all the events stopped. So like once all the events stopped, I was already not getting paid by FBM, but I was like using the event money to live off of. So that all stopped and I pretty much went broke. And I moved into the FBM bus. Like, so I was almost homeless. I was technically homeless. Broke. It was a pandemic. I was just in the bus. And I got pretty depressed. It was like kind of a dark period for me. But then I was still riding. And I at that point, like, me and a friend were at the local pump track. And, like, we kind of, like, invented the idea for rad share.
Okay.
I hated after FBM. I hated the idea of like trying to market and sell stuff to people. So I wanted to share BMX with as many people as I could. So I started a nonprofit where we would start giving stuff to people and like doing free events. And like Radshare pretty much kind of brought me out of like my weird like mental health dark place.
Okay.
And like kind of like allowed me to like reinvent the idea of BMX community for like the next point of my life, and like just trying to do stuff to share with people was like my idea, and like get people stoked on BMX. But like I was sick of trying to sell stuff to people because like we were struggling so hard with FBM that I was just trying to like hustle sales, and like it just felt like I was trying to trick people into buying stuff.
Yeah, draining on the mind. Yeah,
and I was just like, I just want to like share stuff with people, like. Like I just wanted to enjoy BMX.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm doing now. I ride a lot. I wouldn't say I ride a lot like a young pro, but like, I ride pretty consistently, like almost daily when I can. And, I host events and, go to events and, I just did a road trip with Gilly 2 weeks ago. And,
oh, no way.
It was like a total time warp, but it's like, I'm just a BMXer now,
Yeah, that's cool, man.
I'm not trying to sell BMX to anybody. I'm just like, hey, if you're into any of this cool stuff, check it out. And if not, like, I'll be riding on Saturday if you want to come hang out.
Oh, what? Are you still doing that event at the track, or?
No, so I said we do 3 events, and
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
we did 3 rumbles, and then I switched it to a skate park event.
Okay.
And then I did one last rumble last year back at the track. So I did 5 of those, and then I was like, all right, we're done. I was just like, it was a big event. It's pretty tough to do. Like,
yeah,
small
it looks
resources.
good though. It looks fun. Yeah.
It was cool. But now I'm doing a series of smaller events called Community Stoke Days, and it's just like small grassroots events. Like we did one at Ray's Mountain Bike Park, and then 750 people came out. And then we did one a couple weeks ago in Providence. That's where Gilly went with me, and we did that with Circuit BMX, and just a local event where we just get everyone together and we work with Profile on that one, and we just have a day.
Cool, man.
Give free helmets to kids. We gave a bike away at that event, and then we're doing one with Keith Terra on Long Island in September, and then we'll do another one here in Richmond at the BMX track and at the jumps on September 27th.
Oh, wow.
So
actually, it's still happening, isn't it? Still good stuff.
But it's like, it was hard work to do the Rumble, and like budgets got smaller again. Like the corporations started like having less money to sponsor, and like less resources to send pros out, and it was like, okay, like I don't want this. Same thing with FBM. Like I don't want to do something worse. Continue to do something and have it get worse. So like, okay, like we did the Rumble, it was awesome. Let's do something else. And it's like, let's just do community Stoke events. Let's just get people hyped on BMX and give out free helmets to kids and show BMX to people that haven't seen it, or like get young people introduced to it in a way where like maybe they want to become BMXers, or they like grab onto a little bit of that magic that you and I and our friends like.
Yeah, try and reignite the spark.
It's like, I feel like that's like what I'm into right now. It's just getting people stoked.
Yeah. What would you say was the, like, why did you think you kept involved in BMX so long? Like, because it always interests me as to why I've always never lost interest in it.
I just like BMX. Like, I want to ride. I get stoked watching people do cool shit. Like, I don't just BMX. I think for a long time I just BMX'd, but now I'm interested in like, art and writing and photography and like, just doing stuff in Richmond locally. But like, I never stopped loving BMX. I got burned out, about selling stuff to people, but I never stopped loving it. Like me and Gilly, we're in our 50s and we're still building and riding jumps. Like,
yeah, man.
There's something to that that's like.
That's what I mean. Like, what is that like? What is that thing? Like, it's hard to pinpoint.
I think it's because we're participants. A lot of people like watch sports on TV, or like they go to the pub and they watch stuff and like they're not actually participating. It's like we're still doing it. We're still riding. Like, I don't know if I would be watching as many web videos if I wasn't BMXing. Yeah. But like I'm still riding, so like of course I'm gonna go like stay involved on some level. I'm not traveling around the world to like, go on trips or go to events anymore. But I just love getting a little.
Yeah. Like, still searching for the feeling. Yeah.
It's always searching. For that. And sometimes it's like I'll ride for hours and I'll just be like, oh, this is awesome. And sometimes I'll be like, third run in, I'll get like a good table and I'll be like, I'm good.
Finished. Yeah.
So, but like. I'm really proud of the fact that I'm in my 50s and I'm still BMXing, and I'm not talking about the good old days, like I always, thought like I was lucky enough to understand like that as long as you're riding, these are the good old days, like they're right now.
That's
like,
a mindset, yeah.
I try not to like spend too much time looking in the rearview mirror, but I always want to like, all that history holds a special place in my heart. And like all the friendships and the memories and all the stuff we did is like really important, but it doesn't change the fact that I still want to go riding and I still love meeting up with my friends and like, having a session and like, or if I show up at, Clissold and hang out with you guys and like, it's a bunch of old knuckleheads talking shit to each other and like having a laugh and like, maybe you're only riding for part of the time, but it's BMXing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. So
that's it. That's what you're searching for, isn't it? It's like the whole experience.
I think it's the community, It's like, it's the community and like, we draw inspiration from seeing our friends do cool stuff and like trying to do cool stuff. That's like, 20 years ago, like the challenge would be like, oh, can I do a trick on this big jump? And now it's like the challenge is like, can I just keep riding? It's like, and like, I just love it. I don't know. There's no like proper word for it. It's just we're BMXers.
It's all of the above, I would say, yeah.
It's like still listen to the same bullshit ass music as I was 20, 30 years ago. I got the radio playing at the jumps. I'm like, and some dude's like, what is this music? I was like, it's the Fat Record sampler from 1990.
Excellent. Oh man.
It's the friends, it's the bikes, it's the memories, Cool. And it's like making new ones.
And I wanted to ask you as the last one, was 90s BMX as good as what they say it was?
I think it still is. I'm still
good answer. BMX. Yeah, fuck yeah.
I don't think any era of BMX is better than any other era. It's whatever era of BMX you're in right now is the best one. But like 90s had the biggest impact on me. So like that's like where all my influences come from that. And like that's where I pretend I'm at when I'm still riding. I'm like, yeah, it's 97 today. I took a hand off.
Yeah, I'm the same, really. Yeah,
but yeah, all BMX is cool, but like, there's some whack shit out there nowadays, but yeah, it's always 90s BMX every time I ride.
Yeah, I think the whack shit I don't really think deserves to be called BMX. So that's the direction I'm trying to push. Yeah,
the gymnastics is like cool for them, but it's not for me.
Yeah, me too, man. Oh man! All right. Well, I'm good with that. If you're good,
I'm good. I'm always good, even when I ain't.
Man.
Thanks for listening. We've got a Patreon page, so if you could show us any support, we'd be most grateful. The link's below. A lot of work goes into these shows, so anything you could do would be much appreciated. Thank you.